Hi, Christina Brown here with the Brown team. So in this crazy market and houses being so hard to come by, we are having more and more buyers inquire about buying land and building a home. So let's talk about that. Lending on land is a completely different deal than just going and buying a home that has already been built, right? It is not the same process or the same kind of loan or the same down payment or the same options. It is actually more difficult to obtain a loan for purchasing either unused, unimproved, raw land that maybe is partially developed, land that's completely untouched, just land in general. It is more difficult than, like I said, if it already has a home on it. It is actually a riskier loan for the lender. If you think about when a property already has a home on it, then that home adds value to that land, and that home can be used as collateral. So if for some reason that borrower defaults on their payments or on their promise to the bank to pay them back, the bank will use that home as collateral, and they actually have something of value that they can sell to recoup their losses. So when it's just raw land, it is so risky for that lender. That's why it's harder to find lenders that will do them, number one. So you can't just go to your typical mortgage company in most cases. And because of that, it also means that your down payment will be more. So you can't get in for like no money down or 3%, 3.5%. Typically they're looking at 20 or 25% as a minimum down payment. And because it's riskier, you're also going to get hit with a higher interest rate. So just a lot of things to think about. And then you throw in the mix that there's shortages for things and materials are costing so much more. So the biggest negative, I would say, or something to at least take into account, is that there could be some unforeseen expenses or difficulties that may come up to complicate the situation during the building process, just especially due to the times we are kind of going through right now with supply and demand. So onward from there. Actually, land loans can also be known as lot loans. So sometimes you'll hear those terms interchangeably. And there's actually different kinds of lot or land loans as well. So a lot of people don't know. There's ones for improved land, one for unimproved, one's for raw land. You'll hear all of these terms a lot of times. The other thing people don't know a lot about too are construction loans. So actually, when you see all these builders building homes everywhere, most of the time they are utilizing construction loans to do what they do. So they're paying interest every day that they're working on this house. They're paying workers to do the work, but they don't actually own the home, own the property. They're not footing all the cash for the new construction process. They are utilizing a construction loan. Again, that's a totally different beast. It's risky as well for that lender. So again, higher down payment, higher interest rate. So depending on when you plan to build or what your plans are or what kind of property you're looking at, a construction loan may also be the way to go. So really you're looking at either a land loan or construction loan. A construction loan is typically if you plan to build sooner rather than later. Typically they have a requirement that you must build it quickly. It's a short-term loan. You want to be building immediately, start that construction immediately if you plan to use a construction loan. Otherwise, if it's going to be longer than that for what we say future home building, then the land loan is probably the way to go. So you want to do your homework, right? Usually those lenders want to build on a finished home. So you're going to have to check, I say, local banks, but not just local banks. I've also learned like your rural banks, like for here where we are, like Bank of Odessa, Bank of Oak Grove, those kind of banks, because they are looking more at your credit score and the borrower and not the property as much. If you go to your typical big bank, they are going to look at it completely different. Okay, so you could have the best credit score and get denied for this type of loan. That's just how risky it is for that lender. So something to know, and I tell people too, something to think about is check into construction loans Or why not take a second mortgage or home equity line of credit out of your current property, use that equity if you have a sizable amount that can help you construct a place as well. So there's some creative ways. And then the next thing also to think about are zoning laws. So we've even had people that are looking for acreage out in the country, but there are even these, I'll say, rural subdivisions out there where they're very country, set up for horse properties, but they still have restrictions. And a lot of times they'll have restrictions that will dictate how long you have to get a property constructed. You want to know that before you buy a property, but then there could also be specific zoning laws that affect maybe, the kind of improvements you're wanting, or, barn dominiums is a big thing. There are actually certain zoning laws where those are not allowed, and so you might have to be outside of city limits, things like that. So you want to know these zoning laws before you buy this land and get all excited about what you're wanting to build, because you want to make sure that at the end of the day you can build what you're wanting to build. So once you know you can afford it, you figure out the financing, you also want to make sure you can buy the right kind of property for you to be able to build what you want to build. The other part a lot of times that will help your case when you're talking to a lender is have that solid detailed plan. So do your research ahead of time, do your research before you just walk into the bank where you have no clue what you're talking about. They want to know that you're serious, that you have a plan. You might even have building plans drawn up. But anyways, having great credit does not always ensure that you will be able to get this kind of loan and that they are just going to hand you the money. So do your homework, get the right kind of loan, and of course, as always, if you have questions, we would love to help and are able to help you. Have a great day.